Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now, many of y'all on my channel have been really confused about whether the student visa is going to stop, whether the PSW is going to stop, and what it would mean in terms of you finding a job as a healthcare professional within the UK in the next year or so. So, if any of you have plans of coming into the UK in 2023, do not forget to watch this video all the way to the end. But before we begin this video, if you haven't already followed me on Instagram, well, now's the time because my handle is Physiotherapy in UK and I would love to see you there because I release daily information on my Instagram account. But diving right into today's content, let's just understand what is this entire issue going on about the student visa in the first place. So, as you all know, that the UK immigration over the last year sort of started the PSW for 2 years. That means if you've completed your master's program for 1 year, you would be given a sort of PSW, that is your post study work visa, for at least 2 years, which allowed you to find a job and hopefully successfully settle into the UK. Now, this was a brilliant way of the UK government obviously attracting, foreign and international students into the UK to boost its economy, because this was seen as a sort of bad outcome following Brexit, because obviously the European students wouldn't be there to fill the jobs which were created by the Brexit. So, as a result, to tackle this problem, the UK government decided to hold the PSW so that it could get more and more students from across the globe into filling its roles within the UK and eventually boost UK's economy. Now, the problem that has arisen with this sort of plan that the UK government had is it did not anticipate the amount of immigration that would happen. So, the UK government has actually released its data this year, which revealed that the UK immigration has increased 5 times in the last year, 1 year alone, which is a massive number if you think about it. So, that being said, obviously the UK government is now concerned about the immigration and is reviewing these immigration policies. And one of the latest news about this is that Rishi Sunak, who is the UK PM, that is the UK Prime Minister, has recently said that he wants to sort of reduce or mull down the number of foreign students through immigration. Now, this is further on, he goes on to say that, he is considering putting up barriers for international students who bring dependents and study on low quality degrees in a bid to reduce net migration. So, just to give you a little bit context about what this entire article is about and just a brief summary about it. So, in the year 2019 to 2020 and 2021, UK had about 20,000 students coming into the UK internationally to, obviously study. But over the last year, there has been about 80,000 students, and that is just students alone. The number of dependents is not even considered at this stage. And that being said, the UK government obviously feels that the student population has increased and that is sort of going to impact the economy in the long run. So now, when Rishi Sunak is saying that he wants to reduce the number of students applying for low quality degrees or low quality universities, you would say, what are these low quality universities and what do they stand for? So, one of the possible ideas at this stage is that it might be universities that have lower rankings within the UK. Now, as you are all aware, there are some university rankings that are available on the web generally for all of you all to have a look around. And one of the possible theories at this point is that Rishi Sunak is going to try and limit the number of students who are coming for low ranking degrees or low ranking universities in the UK. Now, again, this is not explicitly said anywhere, so do not hold me for it. But these are just some of the ideas that I've understood after reading all of the sort of news and the sort of discussions that have been going on in the UK generally. Second sort of important thing when you think about this is, Nikita, what if I still go on and apply for these low quality degrees? Or what if I still go on and get admission in this university? What do you think is going to happen then? And the answer to this is I don't know. But most probably, if this rule is sort of released out, then the UK government may have a reason to refuse your student visa or your dependent student visa because they feel that the degree is of a lower quality as compared to some of the other students who are sort of trying to immigrate or trying to come into the UK to study. Now, another sort of key question about these times is UK going to really reduce the number of Indian students coming into the UK, and is India, going to have a really bad impact, or the number of students coming from India, is that going to impact them the worst? Well, technically, it is going to impact the students from all over the globe. But the idea is that because India and Nigeria had some of the highest numbers of student migration in the last year, India is obviously going to be impacted because the number of students coming from India are higher. But that being said, the rule is not meant to personally hurt Indian students or students from other red list countries, including Bangladesh, Pakistan, or any other country. The intention is obviously to sort of restrict the overall number of students coming into the UK in the next 1 or 2 years. Now, when we are talking about these potential barriers for foreign students, what could these potential barriers be? The first and the most sort of outthrown barrier out there that I think many people are discussing right now is IELTS. As you are aware, many universities or lower grade colleges do not really have an IELTS requirement. Some students will actually get admission into the particular college based on the fact that their previous education or their lower level education was in English, even from, say India or Pakistan. So maybe the UK universities are now going to tighten their criterias and say that IELTS will be mandatory. None of this information is out there, so please do not panic at this stage. The second thing that the UK government or that the UK universities might do is actually make their courses more stricter. So, right now, the UK government has no sort of control over the criteria that it uses to navigate through or identify students that is going to enroll in the next year. Now, that being said, that the UK government may try to think of a particular way to tighten this criteria. So maybe it will say that we will only accept students above the certain percentage, or we may only accept students who have some work experience. None of this is said very clearly and for which university, so please do not stress about it at this stage. Now, the third sort of barrier that UK may put up for international students or foreign students is that it's going to limit the number of courses that is available to international students. And you would say, Nikita, how do we know which course is going to be limited? That's a fair question, right? According to me personally, and this is again my personal advice, I am not an immigration consultant, I am not an ambassador trying to promote UK, but personally, I just feel that obviously streams or occupations that are within the shortage occupation list create a value. These professionals who will be trained either for their masters or PhD programs will be of some great demand in the UK. So, say that you complete a particular professional degree, say you complete a master's degree, which is in demand. Say, for example, right now, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy nurses are really in demand in the UK. We're on the shortage occupation list. So, say, for example, you complete a degree in this particular course, it shouldn't be as hard for you to find a job, and maybe the UK government might consider this because it really needs professionals within these streams. So maybe these are going to be some of the higher quality courses or the courses that the UK government might not look to restrict immigration into. But that being said, like I said, this is my personal opinion. Do not quote unquote me for it. Now, if there are any of y'all out there who are confused about what's the low quality degree, should you pursue masters in this particular field, in this particular university, please do not hesitate to contact me for a one-to-one session. Book off some time with me just so that we can review this together and we can identify what is the best route, whether, coming under the study visa is a better route for you or coming under the work visa is going to be a better route for you. So that being said, let's just come down to some of the major questions that are there in everybody's mind. Say, for example, these rules are going to be released by the UK government. When is the possible time that it's going to be releasing this question, these rules or these sort of restrictions? And this is a very common question which I think affects many of y'all. So let me answer this first. So the UK government usually releases a lot of immigration updates, usually around the time of March, April. Right now, it's Christmas time, and the UK government refrains from doing any sort of major rule changes or many sort of issuing changes right now. So usually it follows the months after Christmas and New Year. So usually Jan and Feb is where these rules sort of tend to get modified, and March and April is usually where these rules will actually start coming into action. Now, that being said, let me just remind you that the shortage occupation list was updated in 2021, exactly in April. So it sort of proves the point that most of these rules would be updated in the months of March and April 2023. So that being said, how does this impact the students right now? Because that obviously is a question that all of you have in your minds. So if you are a student in the UK right now, none of these rule changes will apply to you, because you will have still been with the previous set of rules, that the rules are existing right now, including the PSW. So it's not going to affect you in any way, so do not panic. For students who are possibly going to be coming in the May 2023 intake or the September 2023 intake, if the government were to announce any rules or changes in March 2023, it would be effective and you would be influenced by the rule changes. So please be aware, please sort of stick to this channel, subscribe to it, just so that you are aware about all of these latest updates that will be coming up in the next few months. Now, the third important question, which I think affects many of y'all, is somebody asked me, would the student visa route be closed altogether? And the answer to this, that I personally feel, is no. I don't think that UK is going to just shut off all of its student immigration. And the answer to this actually revolves around the fact that UK's economy receives a lot of boost just in terms of enrollments from foreign students who come into the UK and work into the UK. So that is why I just think, because the sort of student population boosts the UK's economy, they will not shut off the student visa. What they might do is restrict the numbers. Like I said, they are planning to reduce the number of students or increase the sort of barriers for foreign students. And the easiest way to do this, like I've explained earlier in this video, is maybe introduce IELTS and say that you need to achieve a certain band in the IELTS to be selected for a particular university. Keep only certain courses which might be on the shortage occupation list at the moment open for, influencing students to apply for these courses and get them into the UK. Or it could even be that only universities in the top ranking sectors are going to be allowed to get foreign students. We don't know what rules the government might take at this stage, but as soon as something is released, I will put it up on my channel, so don't forget to subscribe. Now, the third question, which I think a lot of students are asking me on my Instagram and my YouTube page, is, Nikita, will they be stopping the PSW? And the answer to this is a little complex. So let's just understand, the PSW was actually going on in the UK for many years until 2011. And at that point of time, the PSW was still for about 1 or 2 years, where students were allowed to find a job. What happened in 2012 is that the UK government at that time realized that the immigration was obviously happening too much and they wanted to control those numbers. So they stopped the PSW in 2012. So they stopped the PSW in 2012, and that meant that students only had about 3 months to find themselves a job that is a sponsored job, would sponsor a work visa for them. And again, they realized that the number of students sort of coming into the UK has started dwindling down, has started reducing. And so again, in 2021, they introduced the PSW route, which ensured that students had up to 2 years to find a sponsored job in the UK. Now, that being said, in the current state, what might happen is that the UK government is going to relook the PSW entirely. So it might decide that it wants to sort of limit the PSW to only 1 year or maybe 6 months, or even scrap the PSW entirely. It's really hard to say what is going on in their minds, what sort of update they're going to come out with. But like I explained to you before, if they make any changes, if any updates are released, I will be issuing that out on my channel. So as of this moment, the PSW has not been under question by the UK government. They've only sort of spoken about the UK immigration for student visas and sort of increasing the barriers for foreign students. Now, let's just come to the next two questions, which I think is going to be heavily influenced by the dependent visa questions. So the first question that I want to answer is, will the dependent visa be affected, especially in terms of the PSW? Now, I'm not sure how many of y'all are aware about this, but obviously, if you are on a student visa, you can get your dependents with you on the student visa. But as soon as you switch to the PSW, you cannot get your dependents on the visa. So that means if any of y'all right now are out there who are on student visa, you can definitely get your dependents right now. But once you switch to the PSW, you will not be able to do that anymore. Now, that being said, this route again sort of stays same until new rules or new sort of updates are released by the UK government. But ideally thinking, what else can the UK government do to sort of restrict the number of dependents, especially from countries like India and Nigeria, which have had high number of dependents over the last year coming into the UK? So the first thing that I feel the UK government may do is sort of increase the number of, or the amount that it demands for the IHS, which is the immigration health surcharge that every person needs to pay for themselves and for their dependents. So obviously, if they increase that, a lot of people would feel restricted to sort of pay that money and come into the UK. So it might help in reducing immigration numbers. I don't know, but this is just one of the theories out there. But the second thing is that it might limit the number of dependents coming into the UK. Now, you would say, what is the restriction? How many people? None of that information is released at this stage. So, I do not want to share bogus information with any of you guys out there. But one of the theories is that right now, as you are all aware, that people who come to study an undergraduate, that is a bachelor's degree in the UK, do not receive any sort of sponsorship for dependents. The idea is that they might sort of extend this to 1 year master programs, because right now UK allows people who are coming to study their masters or PhD to get their dependents along with them. But if they want to make this really strict, they might say that they will only allow PhD students to get dependents, and master's students, that is who come to study 1 year master programs, may not be allowed to get dependents. Now this is again just a theory, don't quote unquote me for this. But another sort of possibility is that UK might say that, with one student only 2 or 3 dependents can come and the rest of them may not be able to come. But I again feel that this is not likely possible, because say for example you have like 3 children or 2 children with you. If they say you can only get 2 people as dependents, so maybe it's husband, wife and 1 child, what's going to happen to the second child? Have you thought about it? No. So I think just on the grounds of humanitarian rights, they may not be able to pull off this sort of theory and make it practical. But that being said, these are just some of the sort of rumors or theories that are going around about changes in the dependent visa. But none of these are true at this stage. So I just feel that if any sort of update had to be released, it would be released in March or April 2023. And again, just to reiterate, people who are coming on work visa, none of the sort of immigration updates or news that have been released right now are tending to directly affect you. So if you are coming to sort of work in the NHS or work in a private company in the healthcare sector, none of the news that I've said so far is going to directly impact you. So don't be too stressed about it. But yes, keep watching the channel, because if there's any changes, especially related to the health and care worker visa, I will be putting that out immediately. But yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know if you liked it in the comments below. But also, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and take care. Bye.